Councilmen, we've all had an opportunity to take a look at our regular agenda this evening. Can I get a motion to approve that, please?
I'll so move.
Do I have a second?
Second.
Bob? Kim?
Councilmember Rod,
Aye.
Councilmember Giefer,
Aye.
Councilmember Tufti,
Aye.
Councilmember Carr,
Aye.
Mayor Huber.
Aye. Thank you, Kim. You've had your consent agenda with our bill list in it for about a week now. I would entertain a motion to approve our consent agenda, please.
So move.
Do I have a second?
Second.
John?
Councilmember Carr,
Aye.
Councilmember Rod,
Aye.
Councilmember Giefer,
Aye.
Councilmember Tufti,
Aye.
Mayor Huber.
Aye. Thanks, Kim. Brad, good thing we got you fixed because we're coming right to you first, Brad. So why don't you go ahead and take over for our public hearing? I don't know if you want to kind of talk about that a little bit, or you just want me to fire it open. What do you say?
Mayor, let me introduce the project a little bit, then I'll turn it over to you for the public hearing. Good evening, Mayor, members of the council. Tonight we will be conducting a public assessment hearing for the project on Honeye Avenue, 115th Street in Hillcrest Court. This project was originally petitioned by residents that live on those streets in last November, actually. And through the process, the council had approved the public hearing and moving forward and ordering the improvement project after the hearing, I think in April. And then in May, council authorized me to go out for bids for the project. We did receive bids for the project at the amount of $299,873.30. The construction costs, the indirect costs, including legal administrative costs, are a total of $350,873.30. And the city has budgeted and is contributing $34,785.30 to the project. Again, the improvements are anticipated to be funded by special assessments to the benefiting properties in accordance with the assessment policy and Minnesota State Statute 429. The total benefit amount to be assessed is the project costs minus the city's contributing amount, which is a total of $316,088. There are 25.75 buildable units for this project. There are 3 units that are a quarter unit. Those parcels are either fronting another road or their driveway comes off of another road per the city's assessment policy. The assessment per buildable unit is $12,275.26. And anyone wishing to object to the assessment must do so in writing and file with the city clerk 30 days after this assessment hearing. Assessments are proposed to be paid in equal annual installment amounts over 15 years for a single family residential property, beginning in January of 2024 with an annual interest rate of 4.5% per annum. The assessment may be paid in whole with no interest charged if the entire assessment is paid within 30 days of the adoption of the assessment. The council may, at its discretion, defer payments of this special assessment for any homestead property owned by a person 65 years of age or older, or retired by virtue of a permanent or total disability, for whom it would be a hardship to make the payment. So with that said, Mayor, I would turn it over to you for questioning before the hearing, or go ahead and you can conduct the hearing.
Real good. Brad, just real quick, let's clarify a couple of things because it sounded a bit mixed to my ear. 30 days from this hearing in order to object in writing. Is that correct?
That is correct. That is Minnesota State statute.
Okay. And then from this hearing date, 30 days to pay with no interest.
Correct.
Okay, real good. And then the deferment plan for those 65 and older with permanent disabilities or other such conditions, how is that then paid? Is that paid upon what? Sale of the property?
Yeah, until the property is sold, is my understanding, Mayor.
Real good. Any other questions for Brad, gentlemen, before we open this public hearing? Now would be kind of the time to get some information from Brad. Jeff? Anyone else?
Not for me.
Real good, real good. Let's go ahead and open up our public hearing for the, I like to call it Honeye, but you just never know on that one, Brad. Honeye. Yeah, who knows? I'd like to find the guy that called it that. Anyway, Honeye, 115th Street and Hillcrest Court Street Improvement Project. I'd like a motion to open up our public hearing so we can hear from our residents.
So moved.
So moved. Mr. Giefer, do I have a second?
Second.
Thank you, Bob.
Councilmember Carr?
Aye.
Councilmember Rock?
Aye.
Councilmember Buford?
Aye.
Councilmember Tufti?
Aye.
Mayor Huber?
Aye. Thank you, Kim. So, what we're gonna do is go ahead and have anyone who is interested in speaking on this project, come on up to the microphone, and please sign in. There is a sign-up sheet up there. So we, if we do need further communications, we won't be having sort of a back and forth with you. We wanna listen to what you're gonna say, and then we're gonna go ahead and respond afterward if there's some things we can possibly help with. So, do we have some folks here for this public hearing on Honeye, 115th and Hillcrest Street?
And Mr. Mayor and council members, if I could just add, please speak clearly into the microphone so staff can hear.
Yeah, yeah. Yeah, you can, feel free to adjust it if that's necessary, if you want to do that. Okay. I'm going to ask one more time for any public comments regarding this project on Honeye, 115th Street and Hillcrest Street.
I'd like to make a motion to close.
Okay, motion to close. Whoop, go ahead.
Mayor, we do have a
Yep, we have some.
Oh, we have someone online.
attendee virtually that has their hand up.
Thank you. You know what, Brad? I'm not used to that. We haven't had COVID in so long. I'm not used to people popping up online. That's almost a new one. And how do we handle this? This is the first time we've done it here at the at Town Hall. Kim, does that come through your computer, through our speakers, or?
Comes to mind.
Okay, well, let's go ahead and get them teed up then, and we'll hear their concerns here.
I'm asking her to unmute.
Okay. And then if we get a full name and an address, please.
Can you hear me?
Yes, we can.
All right, address is 11565 Hillcrest Court, Kathleen de Manival. And on the letter that we received, it says that the payment had to be made in full by November 10th. Doesn't say anything about paying it in 30 days from today.
Yeah, Mayor, let me clarify that. Typically, it is 30 days, but November 10th gets us prior to Kim filing it to the county. So I think we did put that information in the letter that they could pay it to the city prior to November 10th. So let me clarify that. They do have until the 10th of November to pay it.
Okay, then I have a few more questions. Who will be doing the work and how long will it take?
So we haven't awarded a contract yet for the construction, but OMG was the low apparent bidder for the project. They have done work for the city in the past on Justin Trail. The work shouldn't take more than 2 weeks once the contract is awarded, and we provide the notice to proceed to the contractor. So at this time, we're anticipating the work starting not until after Labor Day, but it should be completed before the middle of October. So we give them a large enough window to give competitive bids to get their work done, but once they get started, they'll stay on the project and complete it most likely within 2 weeks.
And will we be able to get in and out of our homes during this time?
Yes, you'll always have access to your driveway 24/7. There may be intermittent, work being done right in front of your property at certain times, but for the most part, you'll have complete access to your driveway.
Okay, and then if there's any problems, do we complain to you or the company that does the work?
Yeah, you would go through me first, and then I'll relay the message to the contractor. We typically have at least one meeting before the project starts, where I get the contractor's foreman's information and the superintendent. So in case something does come up, we can communicate that information to them.
And then who will be communicating on a regular basis? Like, we're gonna start the project next week, we're gonna start it tomorrow, we'll be in front of your house on this day, so you won't be able to get in and out, that sort of thing.
Yeah, typically we only do one mailing to the the neighborhood, and that would be just when we know the project's going to start. We typically will have an inspector on site that will provide that information in the kickoff letter, if you will, so that in case you do have any questions, that you could call that inspector. But really, we only have the one communication, and that's typically right before the project starts.
So then we have to call you if we have questions about.
Yep, you can certainly, I would be the point of contact.
And will they be working on Saturday or Sunday?
No, they will not be working on any Saturdays and Sundays unless the city would authorize that, and typically that's not the case.
Okay.
All right. Are we good, Ms. Makar?
I just muted.
Okay, real good. All right, Brad, you're the point of contact on these. These contacts do not go through Kim in any way. That you handle all of that?
Yeah, typically, most of the, I'll put out a letter, the contact information, my contact information will be in that letter so that they can come to me directly with any questions they have on the project. If it's some other emergency, they certainly should go to Kim, but if it's project related, they typically can call me.
Okay, well, that's good to know. I just want to kind of flesh that out to make sure we weren't on you too hard there, see if we could spread the load, but it sounds like you're well prepared here. So, looks like that's all we have. Kim, do we have anyone else online?
We have no one.
No other commenters? Okay, let's go ahead and close our public hearing.
Motion to close public
Mr.
hearing.
Giefer, do we have a second?
Second.
Thanks, John.
Councilmember Carr?
Aye.
Councilmember Rock?
Aye.
Councilmember Giefer?
Aye.
Councilmember Tufti?
Aye.
Mayor Huber?
Hi, thank you, Kim. You've all had a chance to go ahead and go through Brad's memorandum, and he helpfully kind of explained it and started it out for us. The total assessment, $316,088, and then the payment options available on this for all of the classes of assessees. So, looking for the consideration of resolution 2023-15 and a motion to approve, certifying the special
Mayor,
assessments.
can
Yep,
I interrupt real quick?
yep.
Let's do 2023-14 first in the proper order so that we can declare the costs.
Pardon me, see, I
Do
just
that
wanted to
resolution
jump right
first,
to
and
it.
then we can do 2023-15.
I wanted to jump right to it. 2023-14, I misread the number. Go ahead, guys, declaring the cost to be assessed.
So move resolution 2023-14 be approved.
Thanks, John. Do I have a second?
Second.
Thanks, Bob.
Councilmember Carr?
Aye.
Councilmember Rock?
Aye.
Councilmember Giefer?
Aye.
Councilmember Tufti?
Aye.
Mayor Huber?
Aye, thank you, Kim. Now let's move to 23-15, the certification of the special assessments for the Honeye Avenue project.
I will move to approve resolution number 2023-15.
Thank you. Second?
I'll second that.
Councilmember Carr?
Aye.
Councilmember Rock?
Aye.
Councilmember Giefer?
Aye.
Councilmember Tufti?
Aye.
Mayor Huber?
Aye. Brad, do you want to talk about 2023-16 before we move on that? Do you have anything to say?
Yeah, please, Mayor. So the next resolution is accepting the bids for the project. And typically, in past projects, we've awarded projects before the special assessment hearing. This project, we've done it a little differently where we are awarding this project after the assessment hearing. Now, my understanding is people have 30 days to contest their assessment, but that must be in writing to the city clerk. For this project, again, I feel like it's a low risk to the city to award a contract tonight, so we can certainly do that. Or if council wishes, we can certainly wait until the 30-day period is over and award this project at the September meeting. So we put this on there not knowing, if we were going to get any contestants tonight. So we could either table it for next month, or we could move on adopting resolution 2023-16 tonight. So with that, Mayor, I would gladly answer any questions.
I understand why you did that, Brad. Normally, when we have these projects, if there are contestants, we hear from the people at the public hearing. I know when my road was done 4 years ago, I think we had 8 or 10 people sign protests of that project here in front of the council. So we don't have anyone here tonight, and of course, those folks have 30 days from tonight's meeting. Would that also be a November 10th date, Brad, or is that 30 calendar?
Yeah, they would still have up to November 10th to pay their assessments, so if that's what you're asking.
No, I'm not. I'm asking if they were to file a complaint or file a protest.
No, so they have 30 days from tonight.
Okay, so 30 calendar days to file those protests, and people will be able to see this meeting online very quickly. So I think we're safe actually awarding or accepting a bid and awarding a construction contract.
Question on the right.
Yes, please.
Question on the right.
Oh, sorry, go ahead.
So Brad, you mentioned that, you could wait to the next meeting, but what is the impact of doing this tonight versus waiting?
Really, there's no impact. I think the contractor's planning to start after Labor Day anyway. I'm not exactly sure the date of the September meeting. But it would just allow us to do all the pre-construction meetings at the end of this month so that when the contractor was ready to go to work in September, if they decided they wanted to start right after Labor Day, that week, they would be ready and all the agreements would be signed and ready to go. But if we don't and wait till the September meeting, then typically getting contracts signed and getting all the administrative work done takes about 2 weeks. So they wouldn't be able to probably start until mid or late September. And that's really the only difference, other than the small risk that the city's taking on by assuming there's no contestants.
Okay, so that was my question about the contestants. It really doesn't affect us by approving this today versus next month, because if they're gonna contest, they're gonna contest.
Correct.
Okay, all right, thank you.
It changes nothing. It's just a little more efficient way of doing it. And like I said, in history, normally they're here, right? You've seen that before, John, I think. You've seen those.
Yep.
So, yeah. Gentlemen?
I'll move to approve resolution 2023-16.
Second.
Councilmember Carr?
Aye.
Councilmember Rod?
Aye.
Councilmember Deeper?
Aye.
Councilmember Tufti?
Aye.
Mayor Huber?
Aye. Thank you, Brad, on that one. Let's move to our next here. Looks like we have another public hearing teed up for the Knollwood Drive Street Improvement Project. Any questions for Brad on this, or Brad, do you just want to tee her up for us first?
Yeah, let me tee it up a little bit, Mayor. So this is a project back in 2020, I think in the summer of 2020, we had a petition filed to the clerk by a resident that lived on Knollwood Drive. When we received that petition, 62% of the residents that lived on that street signed the petition originally. As we moved forward through the petition and then on to the feasibility report that the council ordered and adopted, I think, in December of 2020, both the Knollwood Drive, and there were two other projects that were included with that improvement project. I think Inwood Avenue was one and 105th Street was the other. And so there was three projects originally part of that feasibility report. Well, at some point between ordering the feasibility report and getting to the public hearing, we heard from the resident that had championed the petition that they no longer wanted to pursue or move forward with the project. So at that time, council only ordered the improvements or the improvement hearing for Inwood Avenue and 105th Street for that project. We held the public hearing for those two streets and nothing came about. The residents were not in favor, or a majority of the residents that attended that public hearing were not in favor, so council decided not to move forward with any of those streets. Well, probably a couple months ago, we did receive an email that was filed with the city clerk from the resident that originally petitioned or championed the petition of the improvements on Knollwood Drive. And we brought that forward at last month's meeting with a revised cost and feasibility report that reflected the costs for construction in 2023 or 2024. So we, as a staff, recommended moving forward with the public hearing for this project. And that's what we're here tonight to discuss and to conduct, is a public hearing on whether or not the council wants to order the improvements for Knollwood Drive. Now, you know, I have gotten a few questions from residents living on this particular street asking about voting, and I just want to remind everybody that, you know, we do not do any formal voting on whether or not a project moves forward. This is, you know, the council's discretion whether to move the project forward from this point. Again, you know, I think council really likes to hear from residents living on the street, whether they're in favor or not in favor, either in writing or at this public hearing. So we really appreciate and really want people to come out and express their opinions one way or the other. But again, we don't take a formal vote on these kind of issues. We let the council decide based on the available information that they have at their discretion to decide whether or not to move a project forward. You know, at this point, the city is at complete risk for the monies that have been spent on this project to date, including the feasibility report. It's not really until you get to the assessment hearing where, which is the, you know, further down the process of the Minnesota state statute, special assessment process. And so it really does not impact whether the project is ordered tonight or not. The only impact is, again, at the risk of the city of putting together plans and specs and going out for bids. So I guess with that said, Mayor, I would certainly open up to questions from the council or yourself.
Thank you. Gentlemen? Okay, first an obvious question, have we heard from Inwood and 105th?
No, so they are not part of this hearing at all. They, again, decided back in 2020, or the council decided not to order that improvement on those streets. So we're really just, we're able to dissect the feasibility report, use the information because we've already completed that for Knollwood, even though it was done 2.5 years ago. I think city policy allows us to go up to 3 years using the same feasibility report. So that is what we've done.
But the champions for those two projects, Inwood and 105th, has anyone reached out to them? I mean, are they aware that Knollwood is exploring this?
So our city policy, Mayor, states that after the initial public hearing, so we've had, again, the public hearing that we had back in 2020 or 2021 was just for those two streets, 105th Street and Inwood, and it did not include Knollwood Drive because they did not want to move forward. And so at that time, the project information hearing was held, but after the hearing, there was not enough sentiment, sorry, of the residents to move forward. So council decided not to move forward with a public hearing. Now in our city assessment policy, the citizens of those two streets, or the residents of those two streets, would have to repetition the city if they wanted to move beyond the public improvement hearing, and they would have to have at least 75% of the residents signing a new petition, and we would have to start all over. So to answer your question, no, we have not received anything from either one of those streets to move those projects forward.
Understood. They were turned down. That turns the process on its head, and you start over. You see what I'm trying to do? I want to try to recoup the city's costs that we put in the administrative and we put into the investigation of this project and the initial engineering. So we always try to pull those folks back in if we can and lower costs. Tom?
Well, not to mention that everybody might get a lower assessment because you have more people doing it, might lower the cost for everybody. So,
Right.
and just to know, to answer the question is, we didn't reach out to them? Nobody reached out?
We haven't reached out to them. We typically let them reach out to us. And so I didn't feel like it was necessary since they decided back in 2021 or whatever it was to not move forward. So I did not reach out to
Might
them.
have been worth a phone call, but who knows? They might have said no, so we don't know.
Yeah, it's, again, the process, just so that you all understand in the audience and at home, the process resets. We do not go out looking for streets to assess you. That's St. Paul, that's Minneapolis. You get a letter that says, hey, congratulations, your street's getting done. That's not how it works out here. You have to come to the council and make us understand that you want that done. Is it ultimately up to us? Are we empowered to do it straight? Sure. But we've tied our own hands by having you do it. So that empowers our residents, doesn't empower the council. That's the way Grant sort of runs. Would it be nice to get those other two in? Absolutely it would. I would like to have seen those in there, and I wish they would have jumped on, but that is upon them. All right, any other questions for Brad? Jeff? Nothing? Okay, let's go ahead and open our public hearing if you're ready, unless you got a question.
I would like to move, we open the public hearing.
All right, Mr. Kiefer is ready to hear, and we got Bob on the second.
Councilmember Carr?
Aye.
Councilmember Roche?
Aye.
Councilmember Biefer?
Aye.
Councilmember Tufti?
Aye.
Mayor Huber?
Aye, thank you, Kim.
Mayor and council members, I would like to begin the public hearing saying that I did receive comments from some residents. Justin and Jessica Betchel at 9220 Knollwood Drive, they had a couple of questions, but basically their feedback was they support moving forward with the Knollwood Drive repaving project based on the current estimated costs. Joni Knudsen is very supportive of continuing with this process. And you received a letter from Bradford, Anderson, Norrie, and Camarato on behalf of the resident at, I don't see where his address is here. Address 9211 Knollwood Drive North. And basically this letter outlines several different reasons and a request to put this project on hold until some other issues are taken care of, such as the city properly notifying residents. So that was their request for the public hearing. They wanted it on the public record that they would like to stop the project at this point.
Okay, and that letter was from the resident or from their representative?
It was their representative on behalf of the resident at 9211 Knollwood Drive.
All right, thank you very much. So we've got 2 yeses and the no there. Okay, let's go ahead and open it up to the public. Do we have some folks here who would like to speak on this Knollwood project? Feel free.
Do you want us to stand up or?
Yeah, we'd like you to come up and stand up and write down your address, and feel free to adjust that microphone if you like. We're not very aggressive up here. It's pretty easy. We just listen.
Mr. Mayor, members of the council, I'm Terry Frederickson. My address is 9190 Knollwood Drive. And I had thought I had sent a email to Kim, but she doesn't mention it, so I want to make sure that I'm on record with you as fully supporting moving ahead with the project. Our road is in need of real improvement, and this is the only way to get it. I'm strongly in favor. One note before I sit down, my compatriots would be very disappointed if you were to get off as easily as I would have let you. I think the council's road policy is inspired, given the hand you're dealt with in the city of Grant. You keep our taxes low, and I think the burden of maintaining, improving streets is very equitably laid back on the citizens. And democracy being what it is, that's an imperfect solution, but it is absolutely the best that we have. And I think our support along Knollwood at this point is very strongly in favor of the council moving forward to the next step. Thank Thank you very, very much.
Thank you, sir.
The audio is not picking this up.
Okay,
It's
let's
just
get
not
it
close enough,
adjusted.
and
Yep.
it doesn't go up any higher, so.
This gentleman wrote down his address, so we have that, and we have a yes from him.
Yep, I got it.
Good evening. I'm Marilyn Opp and my husband Jim. We're at 9130 Knollwood Drive, and we both totally support this change in the road to get this taken care of and hopefully improve, the road that we have. So that's our street. And then Ann Crum, who is across the street from us, wasn't able to come, but she also sent a note over to say that she was in favor of doing this. So I can give this to you. Okay. So that is both us and the Crumbs that are supportive. Thank you.
Thank you.
Hello, I'm Joni Knutson from 9235 Knollwood Drive. I just had a question if we're going to be able to have more input after the bids come out.
Brad, do you want to take that? Did you hear that?
Yeah, I guess I'm not understanding what kind of input are you looking for? Are you looking for input to the design, or do you have questions about communications? Or typically what happens after this point, we would be authorized by council to prepare the plans and specs for this road. And for this road, we would typically go out and do some geotechnical work as well as coring of the existing pavement, and then below the aggregate base, just to make sure we have a good base underneath the road before we do the improvements. So all that information is gathered, and then we put together the plans and specs and we go out for bids. So I'm not sure what kind of input that you're looking for or what kind of communication you're looking for.
More cost-wise?
Yeah, so the cost, again, we estimated the assessments at $25,000, just over $25,000. The project costs to date that we're estimating are $219,000, just over that. And typically when I do my estimates, I'm fairly conservative so that when we do get bids in, that the assessments will go down based on the construction costs. We would provide more information as far as what the cost will actually be at the assessment hearing, similar to what we did tonight with the Honeye Avenue Improvement Project. So there will be opportunities to get more information on the final cost once we get to that point, if council decides to move forward with ordering the improvements tonight.
And there'll be another opportunity to vote on that if the price is higher than the original estimate?
It would be at the time of the assessment. As we talked about tonight at the assessment hearing, there's a time for residents to contest their assessment. So if I'm wrong with my conservative estimates and for some reason it goes up, significantly from where it's at, the time to voice your concerns would be at the assessment hearing. And so you would have an opportunity to contest your assessment, and if there's an overwhelming amount of people that are contesting their assessments, then the council could kill the project at that point and not award a construction contract.
So will there be another vote besides what we're doing tonight?
Again, it's really not a formal vote. It's just people participating in the public assessment hearing. And again, that would be the opportunity for residents to come and voice their opinions to the council, because at this point, it's really, the project is driven by the council, but it's using your and other residents' input to gather information on whether or not to move the project forward. So I guess I don't know what else to say there other than, you know, the next opportunity would be the second public hearing, and which would be the assessment hearing after we receive bids and know the ultimate cost of the project.
So what he's saying, just to clear that up, just make it a little shorter, just like the last project we talked about, you would have 30 days. You'd have 30 days if those costs came in and you thought those costs just weren't tenable for you. You would be able to voice your opinion at that point. Again, we're looking to be driven by the neighbors on these streets. We're not looking to make these decisions ourselves. We want
Okay.
you to make them. So
Okay.
that's what I want to do there. Now, I have a couple of things that I want to say, but it has to be after the public hearing. So, Kim? Ken, can you take care of that for us, please?
So while they're doing that, I,
I just wanted to.
The laptop microphone.
Completely off.
You're completely off? Okay, you're good.
Anyway,
Tell
I
us what
just
you're gonna
want,
say.
I just wanted to say very clearly, because it's confusing. An assessment hearing is a public hearing. It's not just them ordering the assessments. It is a public hearing similar to this, where you come up and say, hey, those preliminary costs were $20,000 per resident. They came in at $25,000. We do not want this project to move forward. So that is your time to talk about the bids.
okay, great,
Again, you're going to drive us,
great,
okay? So, but we are gonna take in the totality
Right.
of everyone that we hear from.
right. So as Kim said earlier, I already said I wanted to go through with it.
No, you wanted to move forward, and there is a difference.
Yeah,
Yep,
right,
yep.
right. We have 8 residents on the street, and I believe 7 of the 8 are interested. We have one more person to talk here. So that's all I have.
Thank you.
Hello, my name is Tara Christou. I live at 9060 Knollwood. My husband and I are in favor of the project, provided that everyone is equally assessed. There was a point where some of the lots, 3 of the 8 lots, were double assessed based on the availability of splitting the lots, and that's since been changed. Provided it's not changed back, we're in favor. So I want to thank all of you for your hard work. I know that this is hard on many levels, the volume, the controversy, etc. I appreciate it. I wouldn't want to do it. I'm not going to take a turn, so. I have a question for Brad. I don't see him. Is he still here? I see Kim. Is he? Oh, he's just not up. Hi. I have a question about 2016. Knollwood was supposed to get seal coated, but they weren't. Do you have records as to why that didn't go through? Because we haven't had a seal coating for 19 years, and I'm curious to know how that happened.
Yeah, so I know that I'm not sure when the last seal coating happened on Knollwood. But I know that the city again uses maintenance dollars for these projects as well. And so I think in 2020, we decided since this project was petitioned, we haven't done any maintenance for the last couple of years. And so, except for maybe some potholing and things like that. I'm not sure what happened in 2016. I came on board, I think late 2015 or something like that. And so I'm not sure if the road got seal coated or not as part of the street maintenance project. But again, I know there was money allocated for Knollwood Drive. I think the number, let me look, it's $16,431 that was budgeted for maintenance, which would be the seal coating. And so maybe it wasn't done in 2016, but I have a feeling that those monies were allocated in 2020. But anyway, if this project does not move forward, I know there are some issues with the road, and so we could certainly use those maintenance dollars to do a seal coating or maybe fix the large pothole or maybe a combination of that kind of maintenance for your roadway if, again, the project does not move forward to a full reconstruct.
Okay, so we're not sure what happened in 2016, but it wasn't seal coated, right? Okay. Yeah, somehow that fell through the cracks. So yeah, Knollwood was last seal coated in 2004. We've gone for 19 years without being seal coated. In 2016, if it had been done, it would have been helpful. I don't know how quickly we would have ended up at this point. So I'd like to say that based on the road maintenance data on the city website, I analyzed it. We've got 74 roads or something. Knollwood is in the bottom 10% of getting attention. Something like 58 roads are on the 10 to 12 year schedule that you told me about for seal coating. And then there's 15 roads that have been done much less frequently. So the reason I bring that up is not to pass blame on anybody. I know, like I said, it's hard to run a city. However, I would like you to take that under consideration when you are thinking about how much money the city can contribute towards this, because we've got the seal coating coming up on the schedule if we don't go ahead with this redoing. There was the seal coating that was scheduled for 2016. There was money earmarked for that, and we didn't get that done. So there's also the fact that we've had years of deterioration that were kind of accelerated because of the lack of seal coating. So 3 separate points of revenue that I ask you very humbly to consider looking at carefully and putting towards our project if we choose to go forward.
Understood. Thank you.
Okay, thank you.
All right, anyone else? No one else? Okay, let's go
Mr.
ahead.
Mayor, council members,
Go ahead,
I am
Kim.
going to ask any attendees if they would like to speak during the public hearing. Is *9 if you, that will raise your hand, or there should be a button down below to raise hand.
Guess I need my computer, huh?
Any of you like to speak? No,
Can you read the letter from Crumbs?
I'm not gonna read that entire letter. I was advised not to by the city attorney.
Oh,
We
okay.
did note it for
goes
the
into the
record.
Okay, got it.
Yeah, it'll go into the record for anyone who would like to review that. Let's go ahead and close this public hearing. Do I have a motion?
I'll move to close the public hearing.
Thank you, John. And a second.
I'll do the second.
Kim?
Councilmember Carr?
Aye.
Councilmember Rogge?
Aye.
Councilmember Defer?
Aye.
Councilmember Tufti?
Aye.
Mayor Heber?
Aye. Thanks, Kim. Couple of things. Our engineer works for one of the largest engineering firms in the Twin Cities, and when he says he does conservative estimates, he does, okay? He doesn't want to surprise anybody with an end project cost. With that said, the price of oil is volatile, and it makes up a large amount of the cost of these types of projects. We don't know where that price is going to be coming up when this project will be done. Obviously, we have bids coming in, but some of those contractors may actually hedge their bets a bit as well. However, I will just read an example because I think it's illustrative of Brad's technique in doing this. The last one we talked about, the Honeye 115th and the Knollwood Court, I think it was, or not Knollwood Court, the other one, 115th Court. Brad's estimate, the engineer's opinion of cost on that project was $439,064. $439,064. Okay? It came in, our low bidder was OMG Midwest Inc., Rogers, with a grand total bid of $299,873.30. So Brad is a very conservative estimator, and I'm glad he does that because in all the years I've been here, he has never overshot one of these projects. He's always undershot by coming in high on the front. And I think that's very important. And normally, we're all pleasantly surprised on this, and normally we get very, very good support because of Brad's professionalism in doing it this way. Again, we've never been surprised. The second point that was brought up, The seal coating in 2016, I'm gonna be very honest, I've driven Knollwood many times. My clerk tells me never to do this, but I do it. I drive the roads, okay? I go around and I look for problems and I bring it to staff's attention. We have about 77 miles of roads right now. And that is a lot of roads for one part-time employee and consultants to keep up with. Brad does not work for the city of Granite, he works for an engineering firm, he's a consultant. We have one part-time employee, she sits right there. So I do some of that and I point some of the stuff out. My opinion, 2016, you seal coat Knollwood, you have very pretty black busted up seal coat. Right afterwards. There was no point. At some point, roads don't hold together from seal coat. There's just not enough structure left to hold it together. Or seal coat is really to keep water from penetrating the road and then picking it up when it freezes, right? Your road was past that. Now, the point made was, well, wait a second, dollars perhaps were supposed to be destined for that road. Now, that is a fair point. That is a point I think that the council can take under consideration and certainly look into. I think that's a good point. And we want to make sure that the maintenance dollars that are allocated under our road program are spent properly on these roads, especially roads like this. So, point made. Appreciate
Mr. Mayor,
that.
council members, I'm gonna add to that. I believe that Knollwood is scheduled for the seal coat this fall, which we do seal coats in the fall. I do get calls from people first thing spring, as soon as the snow is gone, when are we getting our seal coat? That is a fall project. I also know that the road supervisor that you recently put on board is waiting to hear what happens at this meeting to get out there and get those potholes fixed on Knollwood per the city. That they're supposed to do the maintenance. The city was waiting a little bit to see what happened from this. Sure. The other thing, the potholer is just getting through all of Grant. So it's not like Knollwood was just completely ignored. We haven't gotten to all of them yet.
No.
But the road supervisor is waiting to hear from me today about what happens with this.
That is an example of spending your money properly, waiting to hear what we heard before we do that. You could have all come in and said, nope, we're all done, we're not gonna do this. Well, then he goes out and starts potholing, right? We try to save it. Jeff?
Then Brad, would the money that was originally planned for this fall seal coating go to reduce the budget of this project if it goes forward? And I think that's what, one thing can you confirm that?
Councilman Giffen.
Thank you.
There's $16,000, just over $16,000 allocated to this project if it does move forward.
At this point, there's $16,000. However, what I'm saying is the council, in my estimation, I think the council may be interested in doing just a bit of research and making sure that we have, allocated the proper dollars to the project. I'm not saying we haven't, Brad. I'm not saying that we haven't, but a little bit of research, just to make sure. Nothing wrong with that. Done.
Well, and I think one thing you said, and we used to do this before we set up our schedule, but sometimes roads, way back when, it was really, we didn't have a maintenance schedule for seal coating, and we just did not seal coat if we thought it wasn't worth it. That was the mentality. But then we stopped that because everybody pays taxes and they deserve their road to get fixed. So we would, even if it was all alligated, it's not alligated, what is it? Thank you. Well, whatever, and it's cracked a lot, it looks like an alligator. We would still seal coat it, just because. And it would look real pretty for, like Jeff said, for a year or two, and we were right back at the same amount. Was that worth $10,000? Probably not, but it made you feel good, like you were getting something out of it. So decisions were made. I can't remember what happened a year ago, so I'm not sure what happened in 2016. I know the 16,000, Brad, that's our seal coating and plus some potholing that this year, correct, that we're adding? Okay, so he's nodding his head. So if there, I'll go with the mayor, if there's some thing we can figure out why it got missed, it could have gotten seal coated, it just didn't for some reason, then sure, we can I'm with the mayor on that one, but I just don't know.
It's reasonable.
It's reasonable.
Let's look into it.
Yeah.
She brings up a point.
Exactly.
Let's look into it and make sure that we're doing it right. But with that said, we've got a consideration of resolution 2023-17. Kim, you're coughing. That usually means you're going to say something. Really? Wow.
She got a tickle, that's all.
I got off easy there. Looking for a motion on 2023-17, the consideration of ordering improvements, and again, starting the process.
So move.
I have a first and a second. Sounds like John and Jeff.
Second.
Councilmember Carr.
Aye.
Councilmember Rogg.
Aye.
Councilmember Biefer.
Aye.
Councilmember Tufti.
Aye.
Mayor Huber.
Aye. Thank you, Kim, and thank you all for coming tonight. We're going to skip our city planner who has no action items. Our city attorney this evening is Christina, if I'm saying that properly.
Yep.
Okay, Christina. And Christina is going to talk to us about an interim ordinance prohibiting the operation of cannabis businesses in the city. Christina, take it away.
Good evening, Mayor and Council. It's a pleasure to be here in person tonight. This is the first time I've been to Grant Town Hall. So I did talk to Nick about locating it, and it was very easy to find. It's very lovely. This is a complex topic, so hopefully you had a chance to review the memo. Before you tonight is an interim ordinance on cannabis businesses. And the definition of cannabis businesses in state statute includes everything from sales to events to manufacturing. So this interim ordinance is under one of the new laws that allows you to adopt an interim ordinance beyond what you typically can, which is just 1 year, through January 1st, 2025, which is when theoretically the Office of Cannabis Management will begin issuing licenses. But there's a lot of unknowns when it comes to when they'll actually begin issuing licenses. There's a theory that this is a big industry and they're excited to get going in Minnesota, and they'll make sure this gets up and running as soon as possible instead of delaying until 2025. Of course, tribally regulated land is already selling these products. So what's before you tonight is the cannabis interim ordinance. What I will be bringing next month is an interim ordinance on hemp businesses. So when the legislature adopted this law, they changed the definition of cannabis businesses and removed hemp businesses from it, but then they forgot to go back and add in hemp business to the other parts. So there's nothing stopping the Office of Cannabis Management from issuing, theoretically tomorrow, licenses to hemp businesses and then being legal in the city. So that will be coming to you next month. But for now, we're just focused on cannabis businesses, and this will prohibit them from operating in your city through January 1st, 2025, allowing you to study the effects.
Excellent, very good. So what we are really doing here for those in the audience and those watching is we are prohibiting the operation of these cannabis businesses in the cities. It's just probably not necessary. The breakout between cannabis and hemp, just if you don't understand, hemp is a plant used to make rope. Believe it or not, Thomas Jefferson dedicated a large portion of his plantation to growing hemp. There is no THC content in it for all intents and purposes. So I don't know that we would even, we'll talk about that, I guess, later. We've already had some farmers in town growing hemp, so maybe we'll go there. But gentlemen, questions for Christina? Questions for anyone on this?
Nope.
No, we're all good. Jeff? Kim, any concerns?
Mr. Mayor, council members, just this is a public hearing, so we need to open it and see. if
I
anyone would like
wanted to talk
speak.
to you first and make sure that you didn't have something to add here.
Nope,
All
do
right.
not.
Let's go ahead and open our public hearing on this one, guys. Can I get a motion?
So moved.
Jeff. Second.
Second.
Thanks, Bob.
Councilmember Carr.
Aye.
Councilmember Rogg.
Aye.
Councilmember Biefer.
Aye.
Councilmember Tufter.
Aye.
Tufti. Mayor Huber.
Aye. All right, again, public hearing, we want you to come on up and tell us what you think about this proposed ordinance. Let us know whether it's something you agree with, disagree with, when and why. We'll need your full name and your address. Please approach the podium if you'd like to speak on this issue. All right, doesn't look like we have anyone interested in cannabis business tonight.
No one online?
No one online? Yeah, that's right, I gotta check. Go ahead and close it. Motion to close. Thanks, Mr. Kiefer.
Second.
Thanks, Bob. Got a double.
Councilmember Carr.
Sure.
Councilmember Rogg.
Aye.
Councilmember Biefer.
Aye.
Councilmember Tufti. Mayor Huber.
Aye. All right. Since that was so quick, we don't seem to have any resistance or proponents, so nothing either way. 2023-73, looking for a motion.
I will move to adopt ordinance number 2023-73.
John, Second.
Second. I was waiting for Bob.
Councilmember Carr?
Aye.
Councilmember Rogers?
Aye.
Councilmember Giefer? Councilmember Tufti?
Aye.
Mayor Hubert?
Aye. Christina, if you would talk to us a bit about adult cannabis in public places
Sure
ordinance.
can. Mayor, council, real quick, before I move on, in case someone's paying attention to this, the hemp ordinance that I'll bring next month will not apply to agriculture.
Oh.
They are separately licensed through the state of Minnesota. It is for retail and manufacturing of hemp businesses and hemp products.
Really?
So just so that just to clarify.
So they're gonna relicense fiber manufacturing, because that's all it is. I mean, you could make clothes out of it, you can make ropes out of it, you can make everything out of it. What you can't do with hemp is smoke it.
So, the mayor, if I may, the hemp businesses manufacturing is about, products for humans. So like edibles, there are buds out there, and, non-consumable products. So it's not manufacturing of non-consumable or non-human.
They're processing it.
Yeah.
Okay, thank you very much. Let's move forward with the adult cannabis, please.
Sure. So, Mayor, Council, this ordinance is before you tonight for your consideration. A lot of cities are choosing to move forward with it. There's not, there's a lot of news articles, I'm not sure if you've seen them, about this topic. Public use of cannabis is not prohibited under the new law. It's up to individual cities to move forward with prohibiting it. This includes places that are generally accessible by the public, unless the private property owner has expressly permitted it. So that's like potentially parking lots of businesses. Should they not choose to allow it on the premises, then the city automatically has something in place. It'll also include your ball fields, sidewalks, streets, things like that. So that is what's before you tonight. And I stand for any questions there are on this specific one, of course.
John, any questions on that?
No, sir.
You heard our description of the private places. I know that was something you had discussed. Gentlemen?
Mr. Mayor and council members, I'll just add to that. We did talk about this at a staff level, and the main reason for bringing this forward was actually your town hall, the ball field, people out there, you know, kids playing baseball, basically.
Yeah, and 1,000 other places, so.
Again, like any other ordinance, though, you know, enforcement is always an issue.
Well, let's hope that smart adults will just keep it where it belongs in
I
their
would
homes.
certainly hope so.
Yeah, where it belongs. So, do I have a motion to approve this ordinance 2023-74?
I will move to adopt ordinance 2023-74.
Thank you, John. Second, gentlemen?
Tom, you've been kind of quiet tonight.
I've done a lot of seconding in my lifetime, and I'm leaving it up to the young bucks to take over.
I'm a little worried on this one, Tom.
Well,
I'm
young
just
bucks,
saying.
there is no young bucks up there, so I'll second.
The newbies.
Yeah. I'm worried about you there, buddy.
Councilmember Carr?
Aye.
Councilmember Rogers?
Aye.
Councilmember Giefer? Aye. Councilmember Tufti?
Aye.
Mayor Hubert?
Aye. New business, gentlemen, obviously, whenever we do.
Mayor, real
go
quick,
ahead.
we
Yeah.
have some summary publication
Right.
resolution.
Where I was
Oh, they're
going.
under new business. I'm sorry. I apologize for interrupting.
Yeah, nope, that's fine. Yeah, no worries, no worries. I missed a number before, so usually Kim's all over me on that. Yeah, can't be missing those. So, we've got under new business, the authorizing the summary publication of both those ordinances we just talked about. Obviously, as you remember, they go in short form in the newspaper, saving us money in printing costs and putting it back into the roads. So, 2013-18, authorizing summary publication of ordinance that we just passed, 73. Do I have a motion? Kiefer, moved. Do I have a second?
Second.
Second, thank you. Kim?
Councilmember Carr?
Question? Do we, hang on a second.
Are you questioning on this?
Just the numbers. I'm trying to figure out.
They weren't in order.
Yeah, they're not in order. 23-18, it's 20, this should be 17.
78, no,
Yeah, this should be 17.
Well, I got
Or no,
73
73,
being the ordinance summary, and on 73,
Yeah, that's right. Ordinance
Hold
number
on.
73 on the bottom.
this
That's-
is considered an ordinance of the interim. This is a summary. This isn't the ordinance.
Right, but if you look here, Tom,
Oh, check it out.
So we've got consideration of resolution 20.
No, I'm talking about what we already voted on.
Yep.
The
okay,
public
so
hearing,
we've got
consideration of that, an interim
73,
ordinance.
Yep.
Okay,
73.
Okay,
If you
well-
look at the bottom line on A,
But this is
it
se-
references it.
oh, wait a second, I'm getting screwed up with
Yep.
ordinances and.
And summary publications.
No. An ordinance, an interim ordinance 73, this is ordinance summary 73, ordinance summary.
Of
I'm getting
73.
confused.
So it's this on there, and then this one drops down to B, that line, 74. See? So 74 comes down here for summary resolution, and then 73 comes down here after our public hearing, then we voted.
No, I know that.
And it
but-
comes down to the.
But this says, consider of ordinance, interim ordinance, this is not an ordinance, this is just the summary. I think they're mixed up. That's what I'm trying to tell you.
Can you explain this, Kim? I'm not having
Am
any
I
luck
mixed
here.
up?
Yeah.
It sounds like I'm mixed, it sounds as they're
Why don't we-
mixed
Why don't
up.
we let Kim explain this one? It's easier.
Mr. Mayor and council members, before you is the ordinance number 2023-73 that prohibits the operation of cannabis businesses in the city, which was under the city attorney's items. Below that, under new business, is consideration of a resolution, because the resolution authorizes the summary publication of the ordinance number.
See, all we're doing is authorizing
No,
again.
I'm just making sure we're right, that's all. I'm just making sure, these numbers seem like they're goofy, but,
I will certainly make corrections to numbers if need be, but I do believe they are accurate.
okay.
They look to be.
Okay,
Yep, keeping us on the straight and narrow here.
Aye. I'll go aye.
We've got, yeah, you've called Tom?
Yeah.
Yep.
Okay,
Aye.
Councilmember Rock,
Aye.
Councilmember Giefer.
Aye.
Councilmember Tufti,
Aye.
Mayor Huber.
aye. Same thing down here. We've got consideration of resolution 2319, authorizing the summary publication of ordinance number 2023-74, the adult cannabis in public places. So once again, same situation. Do I have a motion to approve this resolution? Giefer, do I have a second?
Second.
Councilmember Carr,
Aye.
Councilmember Rock,
Aye.
Councilmember Giefer. Councilmember Tufti,
Aye.
Mayor Huber.
Aye. Thanks, Kim. Okay, good. We'll get those in the newspaper and we'll get rolling on those. We've got consideration of language revision, City of Grant rules of procedure. We talked about this a couple of times, guys. The procedure was changed some time back because we had, unfortunately, some council members that just couldn't kind of follow the rules, and we were spending a lot of money on consultants, and then we had some council members had information from the consultants they had called 20 minutes before the meeting, and then other council members had no update on that, so some council members were not peer. Keep in mind, when you come up here under a weak mayor system, we are peers. I have one additional power because I'm mayor, and that is simply to run this meeting. That's basically it. Otherwise, my vote counts no more than anyone else here. Kim?
Mr. Mayor and council members, I'm sorry, I must correct you. You're also weed control, I believe.
Oh, that's right, I am weed control per state ordinance,
Designated
so
weed control.
don't run me over in the ditch when I'm picking the weeds, I appreciate that. Yes. Why do you think I voted on that so well? I'm in weed control, so anyway. Anyway, the point is this, we've had some concern about this among council members because we had some kind of tough language in there. We were dealing with some tough times, some tough council people at the time, and we had to kind of equalize this peer relationship among us. So we all had the same information when we were making these decisions. That's key under a weak mayor system. So, because again, I don't count any more than anybody else. So, it is forbidden to contact city staff. Forbidden. We've had some issues with that. And I see hopefully in here we have, it looks like a rewrite of this. I'm not sure who did this. But I'm going to go ahead and read this new one, which might be amenable to the rest of the council. For all current applications or city business in progress, the city council members are strongly encouraged to not, capitalized, not, contact city consultants directly. The preference would be to communicate questions through the city office. Kim. This would minimize city consultant billing costs, and all council members then could be provided new information if deemed important by consultants or the city office. So basically, we have someone who is going to ask those questions for us. We're going to put it in writing. She's going to come back to us and say, hey, great question. The consultants want you all to know this, every one of you, so that we're, again, back in that peer relationship. If we end up calling the consultants ourselves, there's been situations, especially in the past, where people come in and say, well, the consultants told me this and the consultants told me that, and sometimes it gets mischaracterized, often mistakenly. But doesn't matter. It creates a problem again in that relationship up here. We're here to represent our individual voters. We all need the same information. Kim, did you have something to add?
Mayor and council members, I guess I would just make a suggestion. It's certainly up for discussion. The verbiage, that's very clear. It's kind of just long to me. I was just going to recommend that, I'll read this, what it says now. Coordination through the city administrator keeps costs down and eliminates the duplication of work. City council members are forbidden. Revise that to say city council members are strongly discouraged from contacting city consultants directly.
Strongly discouraged from contacting directly. I don't think it's a problem, but
Well,
Tom
no,
or
I do.
anybody else?
I
Well,
got you.
hang on. Well, you know what, Jeff, go first.
Go ahead,
Tom, I
Jeff.
got you first last time. Tom, go ahead, Jeff.
I don't know, I mean, to me, strongly encourage is fuzzy, inconcise, and clear. I think our goal should be to have clear, concise language that is not open to interpretation, which I think that is. And so for me, forbidden falls into that category. It's very clear. And I don't think we should be making decisions on policy language based on feelings or anything that's open to interpretation. So our goal should be to govern based on facts, sound logic, and what's best for the city of Grant. And the feelings that associate the word forbidden, I don't think really come into play. And I also think that we need to think why we included this policy in the first place. I think we could probably all agree that none of us abuse the staff like we've seen with some council members previously. But that could very well change in the future, and I think we should be careful and do what we need to do to make sure that we can protect the city from what happened in the past happening again. And, one last point is I think we're looking at changing the wording is a problem that needs to be solved. And I rack my brain thinking of any times in the past that I contacted the staff directly or would have the opportunity to do so, or the need or want to do so in the future. And I couldn't think of any reason why I would need to contact staff without going through Kim. And I think, with the reasons that we have in here to reduce costs, keep everything simple, avoid duplication, everyone on the same page, I think we should stay with forbidden.
So stay with the current policy and the current way it is expressed within the policies and procedures. Do I understand you correctly?
Yes, that's, yeah.
Tom?
Yeah, well, I can think of all kinds of reasons over the years I have and still do, and I just did call the staff for questions on stuff that happens. I get people asking me questions about, can I do this in Grant? Well, the response shouldn't be just given to Kim, and what was it about? Well, can I build a guest house for my grandma? Well, I wasn't sure where we're at with that, so I called Jennifer and asked her, where were we at with that, Jennifer? And why can't I do that? And does the whole council need to know that? No, I just couldn't remember. Maybe I have a question, somebody wants to know something, it's a little ambiguous, and rather than going through Kim and then going to Jennifer, I just go to Jennifer, or I had asked Nick a question, because, when people elect you, they assume that you're gonna try to help them. They elected you, they voted for you, they want you to try to help them. So I've gotten calls throughout the years. I've got calls have nothing to do with city business. And one of the problems I have with the language is it doesn't say why you're not, on what things you're supposed to call the city staff on. It just says you can't call them, forbidden to call them, which to me is ridiculous. So I know we had a problem in the past, but things change all the time. We've had rules, we've changed our rules, things have changed. We had some things that were not going well, we changed our rules. Things are going well, can always change them back if they're not. So I think to keep that word forbidden in there is just a bad thing. Also, we're elected by the people of the city, and for us not to be able to contact staff directly is, I think, kind of can be interpreted different ways, that everything has to go one way. I mean, not necessarily in our city, but any city. You want to be able to have open communication, because an open flow of communication, and I've never had a time where the staff wasn't willing to talk to me we never got built. They're just willing to help me with a question, help a resident, help me with something, maybe for a council meeting that I didn't know about. And I don't think any of that has to go to Kim and go to everybody. That's just me having a question. I think council members, because they're elected, they should be allowed to do that if they feel they have to. Now, should they do that all the time? No. We've always said that. And we always said it before we had this. But then we put it into writing. Because some people couldn't understand that we had the rule. And then they decided to do that. So I think if we just want to put a different language in there, as Kim said, but it doesn't address what you can or can't call staff. But is it simpler, Kim's version? I don't care. I mean, I think we should call staff. It doesn't say anything about what. It doesn't say anything about why. It just says you can't call them. And that, to me, that's ridiculous. So that's why I put this together, by the way, and I don't care if this can be revised. I don't care.
That's wonderful.
But yeah, no, I put it together because I was asked, and Kim asked me before to do it. So I just put something together for discussion, but I'm open to anything. But I think the fact that we can't call, not all the time, nobody's abusing it, but that we can't call and ask a staff a question, which they're more than happy to take because they're great staff, is ridiculous. So that's it. I'm done.
Your points on that, I'm just gonna respond to a couple of them. I don't disagree on the general view of getting questions answered. I got that. But when you start saying, it doesn't tell me what I can call them for, what I can't call them for, you and I know the situations being up here are so varied, you have no idea what you were gonna hear from residents. I have heard stuff you wouldn't believe. So it would be impossible to put that into a policy in order to address that. Some of the examples you gave, Tom, frankly, they can go to the clerk and then we can all get the answer. If you don't know a mother-in-law apartment, I'll tell you what, there's a couple other guys here that don't either.
Yeah, but it was just a question.
Right, no, and I
It's
get
not-
that,
it's
Tom, I
not
get
a
it.
big deal.
I get it. It's not a big deal. It is not a big deal. However, let me make my next point. Things are going really well right now. I'm not gonna be here for long. Not sure about the rest of you, but who comes up next? Who knows? Maybe I'd be on the phone every day with the consultants, getting additional information. They may be talking to them on the roads. They may be all over the place. So I'm not gonna be here to enforce any of this. So a policy should never be voted on, in my mind, if you cannot live with the effects of that policy, okay? And that policy that we have in place mitigates the effect of us not being pure level up here. It minimizes that problem. And waiting till there's a new election and then hoping that you have a majority so that you can put in a new restrictive policy because we perhaps have people that just refuse to follow the rules, that's really kind of iffy. So, changing it to this, keeping the other one is forbidden, a word that is, and you look at the connotations of it, forget the feelings. I don't care how it makes me feel, it's not how I think, okay? But if we look at the connotations of it, I sent out an email earlier today with, I think, 108 synonyms for forbidden. One of those will work fine. I don't mind if we change. It's not gonna make me feel good. It's not gonna make me feel bad. I don't care. I'm just trying to make sure that the council is level. They all have the same information. Jeff, did you have something to say?
Well, you pretty much covered my points. I mean,
Sorry, man. Jumped on.
And Tom, you agree with me that we don't have a problem now, but I'm thinking down the road, if something ever happens like we've seen in the not too recent past, I mean, who on this council voted for the language that we have now?
Back in the dark days, yeah, we voted for it. Did I pay
Okay.
attention to Jeff?
So it made
How
sense.
did forbidden get put? I don't remember.
If it made sense then, could it also make sense in the
I
future?
don't remember, but
And I
yeah.
think the key benefit though is, and Tom, this wouldn't prevent you from getting information to the residents that come to you. You could still give them the information, but the benefit I think will, like Jeff said, everyone else would probably have the same question. It would be nice to have everyone get the same understanding of the questions.
On an application?
On
You're-
anything. On
Just a
anything.
random thing that a friend of mine calls me up and wants to know something about grant? And I have to, well, that's what I'm saying. That's what I'm talking about. I'm not talking about an application or anything else. Yeah, I'm not disagreeing with that. But if they call me up and say, how many, can we do this? And I'm going, I think it's this, but rather than filing a full application with Jennifer, let me just give her a call. And then she goes, no, I don't think it's gonna work.
So you're doing that. It's
I've
not
been doing
causing
it
a
for
problem.
23 years. Yeah.
There's no one that complaining.
Well, I have no.
Despite the language. See what I'm saying?
Well, that's good government, go against what
Well,
it says in the language.
But you just said you've been doing
No,
it for 20 years.
I don't care, because I was. The only reason this was installed was we had some people going rogue, and we tried to rein them in.
Yeah.
Okay?
Yeah.
And then I'd get people telling me, oh, just go ahead. Well, no, but I'm not supposed to. So I want to change it so it's fair for everybody. Why should I be special? So that's what I'm trying to do.
think you got
I don't
my
want to be
point, Tom.
special. And a lot of this crap that I talk about is stupid, maybe, and the whole, everybody else doesn't need to know, well, here's the list of Tom's phone calls this month, you know, and then you guys, why would you want to even know that? It's just like, it's dumb stuff.
I don't.
You don't.
I don't.
That's my whole point.
I don't need to.
You don't
They
need
probably
to.
do.
Well, and that's fine, and and if I found something out amazing, I would gladly share. I found this out, I didn't know this.
You know
It's
what,
like-
Tom? You brought up, and let's go back to that. You made some good points there, and especially in your first statement, you said, "Well, I don't know what I can do, what I can't do." You know, and a couple of things you just said make a lot of sense. But instead of subjects, they make sense in terms of time frames. How fast does someone need to know this? Are they talking to grandma about moving into that house? Are they trying to split? And there's a time frame thing. So, you know, I would always expect, and frankly, I already know, that almost all of the calls that you would make to staff would have a time-sensitive frame. You need an answer now. I get that. It's fine.
And they wouldn't, I wouldn't call in applications, I call Kim.
Right, exactly.
Or anything doing a city business,
Yeah.
because that's what you're supposed to do.
Okay.
I get that.
Yeah.
This is not that. This is just being able to talk to the staff, because you should be able to talk to them if you have questions, and not be forbidden to. Whether that's one word change, I'd go with what Kim said, I don't care. But it doesn't say what in this
No,
old
you
language.
can't. You
Well, it
can't.
doesn't say what you can or can't.
No.
It doesn't, you just can't call them.
But you couldn't. Yeah, but you couldn't list them all. So anyway,
You
guys.
couldn't, but this
yeah,
is,
you couldn't.
I did, I
Yeah,
said
you got,
application.
you got
work,
good stuff in there.
City business in progress, that should
It's-
cover everything.
You got good stuff in there. Gentlemen, this is your policy and procedure too. I need to hear from both of you.
All right. In my opinion, what Kim said is probably a good settling point.
Okay.
You got sides developing, and I think that
That's not the way, I'm gonna interrupt you there. That's not the way this is at all. It is not a side thing. It is trying to make sure that we have pure information. We're not abusing the staff. Now, changing a word from prohibited or from forbidden to highly discouraged or discouraged from contacting, it's really the same. Because if the staff were to come before us, Christina, I'm going to use you for an example. I hope you're going to enjoy this one, okay? I'm going to use you for an example. She's going to come to me and she's going to say, this guy keeps calling me. Every time I get a packet, this guy calls me.
That
won't leave me
Tom.
alone. Won't leave me alone. I never said to you. I'm
I
talking
was
about.
just falling on a
talking,
mistake for you.
guys. I'm talking about the future, because planning policy and procedure for today, you're not going to be here that long, and neither am I. Guarantee you. Right? We're just not. So I'm concerned about it. The highly discouraged, some other words that keep our staff safe but allow individual members to contact them when they need to.
Not just because.
Not because when a non-time sensitive question can be referred right over there to that table, and she'll get you that answer in a day or so. In a day or so. Okay? And especially if it's something that's a little complex. I tell you what, I would have sent that grandma one right over to her, and then she would have sent it back, and I would have sent back, and you guys get it all the time. Please distribute. Boom. Although she would have done it herself. So,
I want to say one more
go
thing.
ahead.
So, Tom, just be clear, I'm
Yeah.
not suggesting that you don't keep doing what you're doing, because as I said now, within the current wording, if nothing
Yeah,
changes.
right.
But I'm saying, like, say 10 years from now, 5 years from now, we have someone that's abusing the staff, not like you are, but abusing staff, and the mayor, whoever at the time, says, you can't do that. They pull up this as, well, there's nothing that says I can't. It says I'm strong to discourage not to, but that doesn't prohibit me. And so this, what I'm saying is, leaving something that's less fuzzy than that would protect us in the future.
Well, this is a policy, first of all, it's not an ordinance, it's not a law.
well-
It's a policy, and somebody could get on the council,
that
they could
could
just,
be
they
used
could
to
get rid of it,
censor
they could
someone.
they'd go, nope, we're done. And there's nothing anybody can do about it, we're gone, they could just change it, we change it. We had to change it. We had to do something, so we did.
But
So that's,
that's not addressing his point. His point
No,
is.
I know what his point is.
His point is, at some future council, when you and I are gone.
yeah.
Would be able to enforce that and say, oh no, it's forbidden, and we'll censure the heck out of you. And then we'll tell our staff, if this person calls you again, it better be documented, because the bill is going to his house. Okay, if you even pick up the phone, which you are forbidden to do.
You can still do that. Even if it says are strongly discouraged, you can still censure them. It's no different. I
It's-
think the
it's hard
problem
to
is,
without the
you're
forbidden.
punishing the people now for something that may never happen in
But you're
in the
not being
future.
punished.
Yeah, I am punished, because I'm not supposed to call the staff.
But you voted for it.
No, I know.
8 years ago.
Good. So I'm voting to change it now, Jeff.
All right.
So
all right.
because I'm being told and was scolded at a city council meeting.
Ah,
that
there
I-
we go.
Well, no, I
There
was,
we go.
that I couldn't call the staff.
There we go. Okay.
So I should be able to call everybody. I'm not special. We should be able to call the staff, not all the time, but I'm not supposed to be verboten to calling the staff.
Okay. Well,
That's it.
We've heard plenty, and I think we know where all this stems from, and we can certainly change that language. I have no problem with it. I just want people to be responsible. What I would really like in the future is when I'm gone, is you get some different type of council person up here who's driving the staff nuts to have enforceable wording in there. But you know what? Sometimes you compromise in order to keep the peace. Like Bob said, I am not interested in any of this side crap. What I'm interested in is having good policies and procedures that when I'm gone, you're gone, these three can enforce it against people that aren't like us, that don't listen like
Unless
us,
they get
right?
3 up here to throw it in the trash can.
And then they throw it in their trash can, but I can't plan for every eventuality. I can only plan for some.
Well, let's just not punish the people now for that. Let's just move forward.
Well, I haven't punished anyone.
Oh,
I
no.
didn't punish anybody.
No, not at all. Okay, anyway.
Are you serious? Do you feel punished right now over this
No,
conversation?
No, I'm just.
Are you serious?
Trying to have Sharon's understanding what I'm saying. I'm trying to have a little fun here. All right. So.
I think the staff is being punished right now.
Yeah, I know. Yeah,
All
yeah.
right, so what are we gonna go with? Strongly discouraged and go with.
Yeah,
Kim's?
let's hold that hand. Strongly discouraged, good for you?
Yes.
Okay. Strongly discouraged, good for you?
And do Kim's method?
And do Ken's will change that.
Okay, I'll go with
You
that.
like it?
Yeah,
I'll do it. Will you do it?
No, that's fine. I can be the minority. I'm
That's
fine.
fine.
Can.
4-1. We're changing
wrong
it
with
to
that?
your definition, your changes that you made. That's what we're changing it
Strongly
to.
discouraged.
A motion?
You're gonna need a motion for that on policy and procedure? I forgot doing that. You're
I'll
right.
make
We
a
voted
motion
for
and
it.
That policy will be changed to one word to strongly discouraged.
Per Kim's.
Well, strongly discoured was our wording, so.
Right, but remember she changed.
It was her idea, yeah, one word, strongly discouraged.
You got it. You got it.
I
Okay,
made
the
the motion.
motion's
I need a
up.
second.
Second.
Councilmember Carr.
Aye.
Councilmember Rob.
Aye.
Councilmember Giefer.
Yeah.
Councilmember Tufti.
Aye.
Mayor Huber.
You bet. I like changing that stuff. It's good stuff. It's good stuff. We now have new policies and procedures. Christina, your eyes aren't bleeding, your ears aren't bleeding. You seem to be okay after that discussion. Sometimes you can really drive an attorney crazy with that kind of stuff. Okay, we're good. No unfinished business. Discussion item, guys. Do you mind? Hey, guys, you mind if we get through this? I want to go home, guys. I got things to do. You got things to do. Let's get out of here. Okay, no unfinished business. Discussion items. Kim,
Absolutely not.
Christina, Sharon, got you here. Brad already left. He had enough of our stuff. City council reports. Anything you guys want to see on future agendas?
No, nothing from me.
Thank God. Thank you so much.
welcome.
I really appreciate that one.
nothing,
I got that. That's good. Community calendar. I think it is Bob Tufty's turn to read the community calendar in his august tones. Go ahead, sir.
All right. Matamidi Public Schools Board Meeting, Thursday, August 10th and August 24th, Matamidi District Education Center, 7 p.m. Stillwater Public School Board Meeting, Thursday, August 10th, Stillwater City Hall, 7 p.m. Washington County Commissioners Meeting, Tuesday, Government Center, 9 a.m.
Bob, you're absolutely right, and anyone who wants to be involved should go to every one of those meetings. So we have a motion to adjourn.
I move to adjourn.
Second. Kim.
Councilmember Carr.
Oh, yes.
Councilmember Rod.
Aye.
Councilmember Giefer.
Indeed.
Councilmember Tufti.
Aye.
Mayor Huber.
Aye.